Top of the morning, lads and ladies. Support for the Off the Irish podcast is now brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and you'll no longer need the look of the Irish with the ladies. Make every day feel like St. Patrick's Day for your balls with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code IrishPod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped and use code IrishPod. Use the right tools for the job and trim your pant potatoes.
And welcome back. How's everyone getting on?
Today we're joined by James Yaegashi. I think I got that right.
Yeah, you do.
So James, how about you introduce yourself?
Well, hello, all you listeners. I'm James Yaegashi. I'm an actor based in New York. I live in Brooklyn. I was in Marvel's Runaways. I played Robert Minoru, who was the father of Nico, a fan favorite. And I've done a lot of video games. I played a character that has sort of like a cult following, Woozy Moo in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Do a lot of theater in New York, Broadway, off-Broadway, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on today, James.
And, really at the moment you're invisible, but, So actually we talked to a lot of actors from New York, and apparently theater is huge.
Oh, yeah. It's the place, in the U.S., it is the city to do theater in. Yeah.
Yeah. And would you prefer doing theater than on screen?
Well, I always tell people it's like theater's in my bones. It's what I trained in. And, I feel as an actor, it's something that keeps your skills very sharpened, I don't see myself ever being away from it or like leaving it. Like when I was doing, Runaways, I split time between New York and LA for 3 years. And because of the scheduling and whatnot, I wasn't able to do full-blown productions in the theater. And so when the series ended, the first thing I told my agents I wanted to do was to do something in the theater. And I actually was in rehearsals for a musical, which I've never done before in my life. It was like I wanted to do something risky and something that would give me a challenge. And I was in the rehearsals of that this spring, and it got canceled because of COVID.
Oh.
Literally, we were our first performance. That was going to be the first preview. We were rehearsing that afternoon, finishing tech, and the production company, the company manager, called us in after break and said, "We're going to have to postpone the production." So we put all that work in and no audience to see it.
Yeah. Well, you're hoping you get to do it after the pandemic.
And I used to do a bit of theater acting, and I know how fun musicals are. So that sucks, man.
Yeah.
My first thing acting was a pantomime. I love the singing part.
Go out, there are a lot of pantomimes, and there used to be. COVID's changed everything, but in New York there'd be guys standing out in Times Square, bucket, asking for change, doing their mimes. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's not interesting what you said about. Thomas, you want to say something?
COVID has really had an effect on the arts like that. It's pretty much changed your entire livelihoods, and
definitely. Yeah, film and TV productions were shut down too, as well as in New York, Broadway is completely shut down, off-Broadway too, but theaters are shut down until probably next summer.
Jesus. And
the television and film industry also shut down for most of the year and just started resuming in the fall. So it's definitely affected us, yeah. How's it in Ireland?
It's non-existent here. So
did we just come out of level 5?
We're coming out of level 5 with COVID anyway.
We're on our worst lockdown that we could be in.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
Yeah. You can't even see someone, you can't meet other people that aren't in your family or in your household.
Yeah.
It's been rough. You
Strange
can't leave
times.
Unless it's for work or education. So
Mm-hmm.
it's weird.
Yeah. New York was that way in the spring. it was hit the hardest in the spring, and everything shut down. And probably June, July, things started to get a little more relaxed. And compared to the rest of the country right now, because the U.S. is just in awful condition when it comes to COVID right now. But New York is the one place, or one of the few places, that has still been able to keep it down in terms of per capita infections. So, knock on wood, we're still able to go out and have dinner outside, or go to the bar. Everybody has like these outdoor spaces put up for them.
What was that state, Jared, you were telling me about, that they had to like wear their mask in between bites?
Was it California?
I think
it was really?
They didn't have to do it. They were talking about doing it.
Oh, really?
But you had to put your mask back on in between bites.
That's hard. I'm like, forget it. I'll just go to order takeaway.
It's probably not worth it.
Like at that point, just close the restaurant.
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe don't. You said a few minutes ago that when you decided you want to do a musical, you wanted to like test yourself.
Yeah.
And as an actor, that's kind of important. You don't want to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Like when you do a musical or anything in theater, there's no second take like on camera.
Correct.
You can't forget a line, or else the whole audience is eyes on you. Like, oh, here's the guy who forgot the line.
Yeah. It's true. Although, what you do have in theater that you don't get as much in TV and film, definitely not in TV, a little more in film, but not nearly as much as theater, is rehearsal time, right? So like when you're in the theater, you're spending, a month in the rehearsal room, just rehearsing. So by the time it comes that, the audience is in front of you, it's in you for the most part. So, like forgetting your line and stuff is not as big of a concern, but what makes it kind of, exciting as a performer, I think, is like you do have to, stay on your toes and be ready to roll with the punches. Someone might, they might forget a part of a line, or they might jump ahead. And then it's how do you fix that with the audience watching you without knowing that that's what you're doing, and that's where the adrenaline can pump in, and it's a lot of fun.
Do you have any like horror stories of like stuff going really wrong? Because I remember I have a couple horror. I did a production of Hairspray a couple of years back where I was playing the main character's mother. I don't care. Because the main character is supposed to be played by
range.
The main character's mother is supposed to be played by a man. It's played by John Travolta in the film. And what happened?
I think it was that was Divine originally, wasn't it? I think the old John Waters film.
I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not.
Anyway, yeah.
And we were doing a part where we're supposed to be in jail, and we had like fake bar cells, and they were attached to like this big things of plastic, and one of them fell off the stage into the audience.
Oh.
Nobody was hurt, thankfully, and I was told my performance was incredible, so everything went well after that. So
well, good for you. Good for you. No, that kind of stuff. Oh, there's so many things. There's been, I tell you, I did it. Oh man, I did a show on Broadway that was a stage adaptation of the novella Breakfast at Tiffany's, which was also made into a movie. And Emilia Clarke actually starred in this stage version that I was in.
Oh wow.
And we were in tech. Oh, actually, no, we weren't in tech. We were in previews. We had an audience. And there's a scene where I'm sitting at a bar, and the whole bar is supposed to move from backstage forward. And as the bar is moving forward, then a backdrop flies in from above behind the bar, and then creates a new sort of the space of the bar, right? And they messed up the timing for that. So I'm sitting at the bar's moving forward, and this wall that's flying in comes right above me, like almost struck me. I looked at that and I had to like hop off the moving platform onto the stage that wasn't moving. And thankfully, I was supposed to be drunk in the scene. So like, you know, the sort of stumbling off the moving platform read all right. You know, I don't know if the audience noticed that was not supposed to be, but stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, God, what other stories do I have? I was doing a play in outdoors in the park one time this was when I was in grad school. A beautiful setting, you know, and the set was incorporated into, you know, these organic, you know, the trees that were in the park. They built a set around it, and, you know, audiences have their picnics out and watching the play as it goes. And I'm talking to somebody, and then in the middle of like a really intense, it was a Shakespeare drama, so it was like an intense scene or whatever, and I'm telling someone that someone's dying or whatever, and this big old, like, I don't know what it was, a walnut or something, a big piece of a nut or something comes dropping from the tree right onto my head and like bounces off. And it's one of those things that was like so obvious that you had to play it. You couldn't ignore it, like it didn't happen. And so the person I was talking to and I had to just do like a little comic bit to look at that thing rolling off the stage, even though it was this, you know, very serious, dramatic moment. It was, and of course the audience laughed too, but the joys of live theater, right?
Yeah. That's one thing I love. Like, there'll never be two shows done the same.
That's right.
It'll always be different.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite shows I've ever been to was I was in London and I seen I think it's called The Fiddler on the Roof.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And
the musical.
oh my, yeah, the acting done, and then the dancing and the singing done by those actors was amazing. I tried to contact them to get in the show, but they're very, very busy people. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to be said about theater. It's hard, and like a lot of respect to actors who do like really hard roles in theater, like Hamlet.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of actors take that one on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of fair play to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Easy.
It is not easy, and it's, you know, almost any sort of like substantial Shakespeare characters that way, but you know, they're so interesting, and there's so much there for the actor to mine, you know, to dig in and find. And what's interesting also from an audience perspective is that those characters change and can sort of give you new insight depending on the performer who's performing it, you know, the actor who's playing the role. And that's what's, I don't know, so exciting about those roles, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
100%.
And, you know, just moving on from theater, you know, you've done TV, you've done movies, you've done voice acting. So we're just going to touch a bit on the voice acting part. Sure. You were saying it's kind of a cult following for your character in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that, you know, I knew when so this is, I mean, how old is that game? It must be almost 20 years old, isn't it?
16 years old.
16 years old. So when I was doing it back then, I knew that it was getting a huge amount of attention even before it came out, because it was using at the time a technology that was relatively new, which was motion capture. And so the whole notion that these characters, you know, in this computer game are moving based on real live human beings was a big deal. And I knew there was sort of like that anticipation but amongst the fans, because I think it was like the second or third Grand Theft Auto that came out. But anyway, I had no idea though that my particular character would end up sort of like finding a place with the fans. You know, it's a fun character. It's like this blind triad, you know, leader that can do all kinds of crazy stuff even though he can't see, and you know, he's like a chill dude, and
I mean,
It's
how
been
does that
fun.
character not be loved? Like,
Yeah.
how could you not love it?
I had a lot of fun doing that that game. And it's funny, fans, I mean, they love that character so much. It's funny because, even when I'm doing like a play off Broadway or something in some small theater, fans will find that I'm performing someplace and then send me a letter or like a card with a printout of Woozy, asking for signatures and everything. It's like, it's kind of cool, man. The love of that game is really awesome. I just recently watched a YouTube clip of Woozy that somebody had I think, tagged me in an Instagram or something like that. And I was looking at it, it's like, my goodness, how far has, technology come? I mean, I look at the games that my son's playing now. It's like, we're like, the Spider-Man game that came out on PS4 and stuff. It's amazing what they can do now, right?
Yeah.
Has your son played Cold War yet?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Has your son played Cold War yet?
I don't know, actually.
The new Call of Duty?
Yeah, definitely Call of Duty. He's done. He's really into actually another Rockstar game, Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
He's replaying
we
that
guy
now.
from both those games.
Yeah.
Within this week. That's pretty cool.
We love talking to people that do video game
voice
characters.
actors, we love them.
It's such a cool job.
Yeah,
You're
it
gonna be,
is fun.
Embezzled with that character forever. Like it's cool.
Yeah, and I'm actually doing it's still unannounced, and so I can't really talk a lot about it. But I'm doing my first animated series as well.
Oh, wow.
So that's exciting. I've never done that before. Because doing an animated series is yet a different sort of form of voice acting that it's different from the way that we do video games or doing spots for commercials or even like audiobooks. It's a very different thing. And
you really fun. Don't like to keep yourself in one niche. You like to do it all. That's really impressive.
Well, it's by necessity.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it's interesting though. You look at creative of like artists in general, and I think part of it might relate to the fact that technology has sort of democratized a lot of the fields. But I think you find a lot more people, creative people, doing different kinds of art. The crossover between like acting and writing and directing, or maybe even music. Painting. John Lithgow, his Instagram is like full of his like illustrations, and he's that he's published a book recently, and it seems like a lot of the creative people are kind of finding that there are other avenues to what they.
Could you remind us who that is?
Do. Oh, John Lithgow is he's an American actor. I'm trying to what would be God. He's in so many things. Okay. So The Crown. The series The Crown.
Yeah, he plays Winston Churchill, right?
He plays Churchill. Yeah.
Yeah, I am thinking of the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the right guy.
Yeah.
He plays one of the dads and Daddy's Home, George, for your.
He's in a ton
for my
of
simple mind, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just putting it out there, man. He's
Have you seen the? Oh, he is. He's a wonderful actor. My point of reference tends to be older. Like he played this. Have you heard of this movie called Harry and the Hendersons? It's about a Bigfoot.
I'd like to.
Came out. I think it came out in the 80s or early 90s or something. He plays the dad in that.
What else is really
he's a very versatile actor. He does so many wonderful roles. But anyway, and he also does stage too.
Have you seen the new? Do you know the Planet of the Apes series, Jared? Like the new trilogy. Plays.
Yeah, we've had people on from it. Yeah,
he plays one of
it.
them. He plays the guy, the dad of whatever. What's the guy's name? James something. In the first one.
James Franco.
James. He plays James Franco's dad in that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's a great actor. Though.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, the monkey.
Do you guys get American sitcoms over there much? Do you watch?
We get American everything, man.
Yeah.
Do you
We're-
like? Did you
may as
ever
well be
see
a
the
state.
series Third Rock from the Sun? That's also a '90s reference. It was a very popular sitcom over here. He was in that. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
his work a lot.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't believe the amount of American stuff we get here. None of the
Yeah.
food, so none of the fun parts. But like your election was so highly debated here, it was terrifying.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
There's
What
people
were
who aren't friends anymore because they disagreed about the election.
even in Ireland?
in Ireland,
Yeah.
That
No,
is
the
crazy.
whole world was crazy.
Wow. That
Yeah.
that is very interesting to me. So is it because people, I mean, is it because of connections with people in the States that, like people
Literally,
have,
it just
they
went
know
on the
someone
news
over
that
here
much.
who's,
It's
Oh,
pretty
really?
much because our culture is very Americanized. Like your celebrities are our celebrities. Your TV
Yeah.
shows are our TV shows. Same with your films.
uh-huh.
We're invested in Marvel, Star Wars, Disney.
Yeah. Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Cruise is the
There's
big
also
shit
the
over
thing
here
of-
as well.
There's more Irish
Yeah.
in America than in Ireland, so that kind of plays into it too.
I was going to say, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's what I was asking about, maybe the connection or something, with the amount of Irish that are here. Maybe there's some input that the people stateside have with people back in Ireland or something. I had no idea though. That's something.
Oh, it's crazy,
because
man.
it's a mess here. And people, yeah, like literally families are broken. Like don't talk. Kids don't talk to their parents. Parents
How
don't talk
bad
to
is
their
that?
kids, siblings.
I'm-
It's
I
crazy.
much rather agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care about my friend's politics. We can talk about it if it comes up, but they're still your friend. Like, if a friend of yours you've had for a long time says, "Oh, I like Trump," and you don't, you're not gonna like not talk to them as a result. They're the same person you've known all this time, and that's the same thing goes with your parents.
Yeah. It's a very sad, I think, commentary on sort of how the extreme views that, like you were saying, news and stuff, but like, that are put out on the internet and on the media sort of sways people's opinions so much that they can't see anything else.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's really sad. Like you said, if you're friends, you should just be friends. I mean, for crying out loud, right? Family's family.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but like you're hoping that when it's all over, those connections get healed.
Yes, absolutely. You hope so.
Yeah.
We'll
Lord,
see what'll happen over the next decade.
it was crazy here for your election.
it was.
Actually,
It was pretty
And
bad.
it's not even that.
Concerningly so.
We were telling people to vote. Like we're
Really?
we're two
Well, what is it?
19-year-olds
that's a joke.
from Ireland, but like we
What's the voting age there?
18. It's the same.
18. Okay, it's the same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool because a lot of my son is he's a senior in high school, so it'd be the 12th grade in the States. But a lot of he's still 17, so he couldn't vote this time. But a lot of his classmates who had already turned 18 could. So it's interesting to hear, sort of their perspective on things as well.
Yeah. In between different generations, there's gonna be a lot of differences in their politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be like I don't know, but that must be so weird having a kid and talking politics with them. Like, when they're in diapers. And now you're
I
talking
know.
like, oh, what do you think about healthcare?
It is kind of surreal, but for me, it's kind of I'm really digging it because in a sense, it's for me. I loved the stage when they were little and you would carry them on your shoulder and play, whatever ball with them. But to be able to engage with your kid on a level that kind of is equal to yours is really cool. Like he has ideas that don't necessarily agree with mine and vice versa, but we can have intelligent conversations now about them. And there's so many times when, he says something and he explains it and a light bulb goes off in my head. I'm going, oh my God, you're right. That's cool for me, and now that he's that age to be able to have that relationship with him moving forward is really gratifying as a father, you know?
Yeah. No, it's it sounds cool, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be trippy when myself and Thomas have kids. Not together, like, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, it's going back to Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
and you know, it wasn't the only Grand Theft Auto game you did.
I did I can't remember now, God, 4 or 5 or something. I did a couple other roles in them, but they weren't like nearly as popular. They were like smaller characters, and
You played a
you
guy
know,
called Charlie.
yeah, I think Charlie was a cop. I think it's like an asshole cop that like ends up getting shot or like killed in one of the cutscenes or something.
Spoilers, lads. It was from
Oh,
2008. It's still spoilers.
You know, there's kids
spoiler for a
playing the
game that's over 10 years old.
There's kids playing the game that are younger than how long it's been out, Jared. I think they've had plenty of
really?
time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
No kidding. I
are you
cannot believe
serious?
that.
GTA is massive in the age.
Even the old ones
8
are
to
huge.
12.
Really?
We played GTA when we were 12, man.
Yeah.
I never played it. I didn't play video games until I was about 16. Ever.
Oh, so then you had to revisit the old ones kind of thing, or?
Oh yeah.
Started off
It
with
was a fun
Tetris,
experience.
you know,
That's
Pong.
funny. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, two bars and a ball. So weird.
Yeah.
No.
I was big into role playing games. Like you know, I grew up in Japan, and so the Nintendo was the big, you know, and this is way before PlayStation ever came on the scene. And so like Dragon Quest was a big game.
Oh my God, I had
of course,
Dragon
Zelda.
Quest.
Yeah.
That's such a cool game.
Legend of
yes.
Zelda. And then when PlayStation came around, I really got into the Final Fantasy series. And I think they just released a remake of one of the older, like Final Fantasy VII or something that's supposed to be really, really cool. But I don't have a PlayStation. Ever since I had kids, my wife was like, okay, your gaming days are over. So now that my son's playing them again, I can kind of, you know, rebuild that part of my life.
Game you got there, son. I can take the whole console.
Exactly. Here,
Dan,
let me
you
try
got
that.
the new Final Fantasy, huh? You're grounded. Hand over the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
It is actually
what's
amazing to see how far games have come, though. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
like we have massive games. We have, you know, God of War. You said earlier on Spider-Man. How cool was Spider-Man to look at? It's visually amazing.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's just watching the, you know, whatever the what do they call that? The gameplay part that they release.
Cinematics.
Yeah.
Cinematic trailers.
Just watching that made you want to like spend I don't know how much the console is, but you know, like $700, $800 to get it, because like that would be worth it alone.
I mean, yeah, like the quality's there, so people are gonna want to get it.
Yeah. And now I think they have a Miles Morales version of it now.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's coming out, which also looks really cool.
Thomas streamed that on our channel, so we did.
Yeah, it was great.
People loved it, so they did. It was
Yeah.
The story was
awesome
beautiful.
game.
It was just it was cool to look at. You know, it felt like you're actually Spider-Man kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bitten by a spider. I'm not feeling too good, but you know, anyway.
Speaking of feeling like you're the character, have you tried VR?
I have. In fact, when I was in LA shooting Runaways, one of my castmates, Ryan Sands, who played Jeffrey Wilder, another of the parents of the Runaways, he and I got tight, and we do stuff. And he's a huge sort of like comic book game geek like I am. And he's like, dude, have you done VR? There's this place, you know, out in wherever. And we went, and it was a VR with it was Star Wars.
Oh wow.
VR, yeah, and it's it's called the I can't remember the name of the venue, but they have them in LA and they have them in New York. Oh man, it's what is it? I can't remember. Anyway, but they have it so that you are physically interacting with things while you have the VR on. So they put this VR gear on you with headphones and the goggles and everything, and you go into a room, and what you see, of course, is the VR that's created. In this case, Star Wars. It's like you get into a starship, and then they take you someplace, and it's like a mini adventure kind of thing, and there's like tactile things. You grab a gun, and then and you're shooting at things, and then like you go to this like magma filled sort of like base, and you can feel the heat radiating on you and everything. So it's
cool.
it's
That's
amazing.
Shit.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I mean, not, it's different from VR gaming and stuff, but that VR was just wonderful.
I mean, it's immersive, definitely. You feel like you're in there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything like that in Ireland. If we did, I'd probably spend every waking second there. It's unreal what we can do now. Like we talked about this with Bruce Thomas from the Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, and we were talking about like haptic gloves, haptic suits. Like so you feel like if you get shot.
Yeah.
So if you're in the game and you get shot, it's gonna be like a buzz in your chest
You
or something.
feel it. Yeah.
It's
the
haptic
amazing.
gloves, if you feel what you're picking up, and there'll be resistance on your hand as if you were actually holding something. And obviously, when he was growing up, Pong was the big thing, and to hear all this stuff, his mind was blown. But like, I grew up with like the Call of Duty games, and I'm still in shock at it. It's amazing what they can do.
What's the law? There's some law in computer engineering where like the capacity, like the memory capacity, or like the amount of things you can put on one chip, like increases like manyfold or whatever, like compounds every year or something like that. And it's like the rate of technology is like that too. I mean, what we can do now, I mean, it just, when I was, so like I'm trying to, I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s, right? And so 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, technology kind of, you went from having like a really thick ass Walkman to a slimmed down version, kind of a CD Walkman, right? But now you're talking, you look at like, from the 2000s to 2020, the stuff that is available now, I mean, like, everyone's like, well, we're doing Zoom. This is nothing, this is like, we never would have thought about this 10, 20 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, the stuff's only getting more advanced. It's getting better every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
Isn't it true? Isn't it like a thing that there's more like data in your regular calculator than there was for the entire NASA base that like launched the first mission to the moon?
Oh, wow.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
More on a calculator than was used to send men to the moon.
Yeah.
Like,
so
it's pretty crazy.
And like, like the first IBM computer that came out weighed like 30 kilos or something, and it only had like, I don't even think it had like a megabyte of memory.
We have a super old IBM laptop here. Like when we were in the States, my mom and dad bought it, and I'll get something to compare it to. It is no joke, a little bit thicker than this book.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that in laptops nowadays. It's heavy. It's very heavy.
Yeah.
There's a floppy disk,
I remember the days.
like space for it.
Oh god.
It's impressive.
Oh shit! I was just looking at this. So the first IBM PC, the memory was 16 kilobytes to 600. The maximum was 640 kilobytes.
If you turn that on today, it would just literally instantaneously crash.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't run any search engine because they're all bigger than that. So
on our phone, it's it's insane.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we live in a weird time. And all this technology getting more advanced every single day is obviously affecting your industry.
It is.
Older actors can be de-aged using the technology we have now. If you've seen The Irishman, Robert De Niro was made look so much younger.
Yes.
And obviously
or
the
how about
CGI.
Star Wars with the
Oh yeah, with Carrie
Leia?
Fisher.
Yeah,
How do you
Like,
feel about the sequel
nearly did
trilogy?
an entire movie with someone who sadly passed away. Like
Yeah.
right?
the
Crazy.
technology there it's so fucking scary, man.
It is amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
and
even
it
if
can,
you die, they can put you in the movie. That's kind of
yeah.
worrying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and there's also, it cuts both ways. Like, that kind of thing. It's great to be able to see someone that's no longer with us and kind of feel like they're still there. But then on the other hand, you have like all these tools now that to manipulate video, for example, where a lot of the fake
Like
news
deep fake.
comes
Deep fake,
from.
yeah.
It's So I guess it cuts both ways.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure for the new like Fast and the Furious, Paul Walker's brothers are going to be playing his character using deepfake.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
See, it's yeah. What can be done? It's
It's-
but it's interesting, how technology has affected our industry, and I think I said this earlier, but like I feel like it's democratized the field quite a bit in that there are ways to put your work out in the world now that didn't exist 20 years ago, or even probably 10 years ago. And a lot of people kind of have opinions on both sides, but compared to when it used to be that there were only a handful of studios that were a way for you to get out there and be seen, and also to even make money doing it. Now there are so many companies, and even if you wanted to start something on your own, you could do that, and a lot of people obviously do. And the whole move, what do you call it, the influencers, industry that's now popped up, and like
YouTubers. We're gonna try to avoid having them on.
So cringeworthy. Oh man,
yeah.
The word influencer it's so
influencing how.
If I told you I was an influencer, and if I had that on my bios, you wouldn't think of me the same. You'd think, oh, what the what?
It's
there's a lot to be said though about influencers who don't call themselves influencers.
Yeah.
But that they're out there, right?
Trying to be it, but they are.
Yeah. Yeah, there. That there's. I mean, like take like my son loves listening to Joe Rogan. And in a sense,
big inspiration for this.
He was obviously somebody in the industry and had a certain amount of what do you call notoriety or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really is since he started his podcast that his popularity has just skyrocketed. And it's basically something that he said that he kind of was doing on his own, while he was doing, stand up here and, the MMA stuff in it's and then now it's become like such a huge thing that he pretty much calls the shots on whatever he wants to do. I don't think that kind of thing would have been possible.
Donald Trump was on board to get on the show.
Yeah.
And debate Joe Biden. That's how big the show is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Like, he had Bernie Sanders on. He had Andrew Yang on. Yeah. As much as it's cool when he has political people on, I normally actually prefer when he has academics on.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from those episodes. He had a paleontologist on once, and that was probably my favorite episode.
I haven't listened to that one, but there was the episode where he had those Navy pilots on with the whole UFO thing. Did you listen to that episode? That was fascinating. But what's and one of the things that my son keeps telling me is like, it's so great because there's such a broad range of people that he brings onto his show.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting people,
I was saying with some of my closer friends, and they don't seem to like him because he's had people like Ben Shapiro and Alex Jones on. So they think he's bad because he platforms bad people. I would have those guys on in a heartbeat. I would have anyone on. Because, you have to hear everyone. And if they're going to be bad, let them expose themselves on the show.
Well, yeah, exactly. And be able to ask the right questions and the questions that really do expose the
Yeah,
vacuous
like,
nature
if
of
you
their
if you
art
had
positions or
Ben
whatever.
Shapiro on and you don't
Yeah.
like him, listen to the episode. Watch, like, really get into his mind,
Yeah.
like, by watching 2 hours of him unfiltered.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, then you fully understand what he's like.
Yeah.
Which is what people don't do
I think,
anymore.
I mean, I think that's what my son's perspective is too on that. And I think that's good. I think I don't know, it's encouraging to me, you know, because, you know, being an artist, you know, you're always sort of, you know, towing the line of like pushing the envelope, right? And going into areas that are kind of maybe not taboo, but uncomfortable, so that what you do actually contributes something to, you know, what people think and perceive, and you know, you want what you do to have an effect on people, to kind of be inquisitive or to, you know, realize something that they didn't before or whatever. But in pushing the envelope, you know, you always risk like being offensive, right? Or offending people, or
Yes,
like, you know,
100%.
trespassing, if you would, into an area that you quote that society doesn't want you to. And I think
And because we're changing all the time, what was acceptable 20 years ago could be taboo today.
yeah, exactly. And what's very difficult about that, of course, now, you know, there's, you know, the cancel culture, right? Of like, now it's the pendulum swung so far that people, you know, will literally just look at one word you said, or you know, a part of a quote or something, and then immediately sort of cancel you, instead of actually digesting a whole thought, a whole whatever, like you're saying, a 2 hours worth of somebody's, you know,
Yeah.
mindset, and then making a judgment, you know. And I think it's encouraging to me that, like, you know, young people like, you know, my son and you guys, you're in college, right? Is that right?
We're in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah,
That, you know,
this got delayed because we had to do college work.
yeah. No, but I think it's great that, like, you guys are coming, you know, coming up now, and you're going to be the people that shape society or whatever. But you have that awareness of like, no, you've got to be open-minded and listening and critical, so that you can make the right choices, instead of just
Yeah.
knee-jerk reaction and canceling someone out because they said the wrong thing, or like, you know,
Yeah.
they breathed the wrong way or whatever. I think that's great.
We were talking to a comedian. His name is Jonesy. Great guy. Love him to God. And he was saying how he was complaining about what was the syrup, Jared? The Aunt Jemima's thing?
I think that's what it was, yeah.
The Aunt Jemima syrup incident. And he was saying how people were, you know, with the whole offense to like the woman on the logo, and that they were not more concerned what was actually in Aunt Jemima syrup, and how that was the actual killer.
That's great.
You know, he went on around a 20-minute rant on why he fucking hates Jesus, man. It was rough to listen to, but no, he did not care what's on the outside, and said, "I will not be putting that shit in my body."
Yeah.
Well, one thing
Brilliant.
Ricky Gervais said about cancel culture is the people who would try to cancel you aren't the people supporting you anyway. Like,
That's right.
200 people could go on Twitter right now and say Joe Rogan sucks. They're probably not watching the show. The show will go on.
Mhm.
He's not getting canceled. They're just complaining. So, you know, when we think of like cancel culture, it's not as bad as we think it is most of the time.
Mhm.
You know, you might see Twitter's lit up, but realistically, how many of those people were supporting the artist anyway?
Yeah.
It's really dumb.
Yeah, but that must be concerning in your industry, cancel culture. Like, if you ever did anything bad and someone pulled it up, that could be you done.
Yeah, it could be, and it has been, and I think, you know, it's I mean, on the one hand, I feel like, you know, you should be, you know, behaving yourself anyway, right? it should,
100%,
you know,
yeah.
don't do shit that's going to like come back to haunt you. But
in
B,
30
it's
to 60 years of life, you're gonna make a fuck up at one point.
But you know, on the other hand, it's understandable too, especially like, you know, with the Me Too movement, you know, where women being abused and, you know, harassed and whatever, because we know for such a long time, that stuff just went, as what do you call it?
Ignored.
Yeah, ignored, and as a matter of fact for or the way of life, that's just the way it is for women, which it shouldn't be.
Right.
And so it's understandable that now that there's a sort of a break in that people are wanting to kind of, correct that sort of tendency to just believe the man or whatever. But, it still doesn't take away the necessity for actually looking at facts and, all that. And that's where it gets all, I think, sticky and tough.
No, bringing attention to things is very important.
Oh,
yeah.
And yeah. Ooh, how did we get so deep, lads? Whoa.
Jesus, man. Anyway, so that's San Andreas talked about. No.
Yeah.
I think even the worst crimes in San Andreas aren't as bad as some of the stuff that goes on.
Yeah, you go.
They can make a video game about real life, and that shit would be fucked up, man.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's right. Keep it in the games, guys. Keep it in the games.
Yeah. You're what a motto. What a line, actually. Yeah. Keep it in the games.
Yeah. God. Okay, I'll move on. Man on a Ledge. You were in this movie. It was a huge movie.
Yeah.
Played a police technician.
I
Tell
did.
us all
Yeah,
about that experience.
I think it was like literally one or two, or it was one of those things where you shot in a day, but they like kind of peppered it throughout because it was I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's sort of not a hostage situation, but kind of a hostage where there's a guy who's basically on the ledge threatening to jump, and the police are there trying to figure out. And so I was in the police van, just saying police stuff. It was one of those, it's like, hey, it's a money gig, yay, but in terms of the character itself, it wasn't anything,
But when the movie came out, were you shocked by how well it did?
Oh no. I mean, I think it was. I forget. I feel like it was a studio movie, wasn't it? Those things are always. And actually, like a lot of the movies I have done are like much more independent. So those you're. I don't think any of them that I've done have like ended up being huge box office surprises. But like Man on the Ledge was I think a legit studio movie, so you knew that it was going to explode.
Yeah, well, thankfully
it was
did.
Disney. So there you go.
And I had this point earlier, but I didn't bring it up because we kind of got sidelined.
Say that again.
I had a point to talk about earlier, but we kind of got sidelined.
Okay.
When it comes to special effects in movies and TV show, they've gotten a lot better. Maybe 5 to 10 years ago, special effects in TV shows were so notoriously bad. They were awful. And movies, they were always pristine. But at the moment, they're kind of catching up. They're actually doing a lot better. And you see that in Runaways. And you see that in a lot of big shows at the moment. If you've seen The Mandalorian, it looks like it's a movie.
It does. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Although, the first episode of this latest season, I was a little bit alarmed because that very first part looked kind of a cheap set to me. I was like,
Remind
man.
me.
In the
where were they?
They're in the bar, and then I don't know if this will be spoilers for fans or whatever, but and then he has to go on the ship a sea to
yes.
with those guys, and then when they come back, and it's like this kind of generic dark set with a bunch of boxes where they go. I don't know if you remember that's a bit, but like visually, I was like, dude, that looks like a set. It's like, and it was so like contrary to everything else that like the series has been doing.
Yeah.
And since it was the first episode, I was a little bit like nervous, but I mean, that was the only thing. The rest of the episodes have been so great. I mean, just visually and effects wise and everything. I love that series. Say that again.
Did you see yesterday's one?
I did,
bro.
Oh
my
man!
God.
I mean, you knew it was gonna happen sooner or later, but like I was like, right off the bat, I was like, yes.
Why,
I'm
did you know that character was going to show up?
Well, yeah, because I think earlier, when they say that what's the planet that
Corvus.
he ends up going to, is where
Torto or
but
Corvus.
like that from the Clone Wars, the tie-in there, right?
Yeah.
And so you felt like that was going to happen, but I did not expect it to happen then, and
I'm going to
awesome.
continue to call him Baby Yoda. I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
that's funny. That's
yeah.
exactly what my son said. He goes, the problem of introducing a name so late in the story is that no one's going to be calling it that.
I forgot his name. I forgot his name already. Not even joking.
It's not. I mean, like,
It starts with
probably
T. It's like 2 something.
No, it's
Grogu.
Grogu.
That tells you how
Grogu.
much I forgot it.
You know, but like everybody knows him as Baby Yoda, and that's just not gonna change, sadly.
Forever.
He will be Baby Yoda till he dies. But like, it's.
And he has a long life, so he's gonna be Baby Yoda when he's a couple thousand years old.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that Mandalorian's doing something crazy for.
So good.
TV
And the Runaways,
for,
and I think what's great, and I feel like Star Wars with Episode 7 was doing this too, of like from being completely CG to like going back and mixing in animatronics and like tactile real things has been, I think, a great movement in the whole sort of world of effects. And I feel like that's what makes sort of what we're seeing on the screen so much more believable now. And because there is that real interaction that's happening, with the actors and the animatronics, plus the augmented reality of the effects. And like in Runaways, that was, with the dinosaur, that was also the case too. They had an animatronics and puppeteers working that together with also the sort of CG stuff that it did post-production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's gonna keep coming and getting better. They spend something like between 2 and 3 million per episode.
Yeah.
And they're not slowing down. It just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for geeks like me, that's all good, because it means all the comics and the games.
Yeah. So you're a fan of the comics verge, yeah?
I am. Because I grew up in Japan, right? Like for me, it's the Japanese manga. I still buy them from Japanese bookstores and read, and I'm a huge nerd when it comes to that. I only have I think a cursory knowledge of American comics compared to the comic book geeks, but playing catch up.
That's good.
Yeah. No, comic books are definitely an art. They're something special. I've only had 3 or 4 in my life. They were all Marvel ones, but.
Oh, are they? Which ones?
Don't put me on the spot like that.
Like you said,
I remember though.
It's a great time to be.
It's like
geek.
a Deadshot ripoff. What's his name? What's his name again?
Deadpool.
No, not Deadpool. No, he was like. He's kind of like your man, Sebastian Stan plays, but different. I'll look up his name.
Soldier.
Hold on.
Okay. I was going to say though, I remember back in college when I first came over to the States after high school, I was talking to my roommate, and he was a huge comic book fan, and I was a comic book fan of manga, right, of Japanese comics. Yeah. And we were talking, and I was telling him how the American comics that I had read were just not nearly as interesting as the Japanese ones. And he's like, well, you got to read X-Men. And so he turned me on to X-Men, and that really turned my my mind around about how good American comics can be too.
Yeah, it's a great
art.
time to be a geek. I mean,
Yeah.
like we got the movies, we got the comics, we've got the.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time. You know, maybe
That's right.
40 years ago we were being punched, still are today. But you know, they give it to us. We love it.
Listen, geeks rule the world, man.
Yes.
Nerds
Hell yeah.
rule the world.
Hell yeah, man.
100% a Star Wars nerd. You know, plenty of Star Wars theory stuff on my YouTube channel all the time.
Oh,
Like not making the videos, watching them, and you know, I have a lot of strong feelings about the Last Jedi and the Last or Rise of Skywalker, because I went to rewatch them both yesterday, and I went 20 minutes in both, and I nearly puked.
Oh, really?
No, I was with my girlfriend, and I said, right, we may as well give this a fair shot. Say, okay, see what's going on here, and no.
My reaction wasn't that strong. I mean, listen, it's not the prequels, right? It's not the prequels, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear that. I felt like they were entertaining, and there was you know, some cool stuff. But I feel like it was not what we hoped it could have been.
Plus the thing with.
But on the other hand, too, it's like what could possibly satisfy the fans? You know, like
everyone has their own opinion of what it should be.
You know.
Which is really cool that they have the
Mandalorian seems to do it right every time.
Like I think
they
likes
the
Mandalorian.
But I think Mandalorian also has the benefit of sort of really expanding out of that narrative, right? It's no longer the Skywalker story.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, the fans, you know, have kind of a point of reference with all the different Star Wars things that have come out, you know, over time, but not the kind of attachment to the narrative as they do the Skywalker story, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think I agree. Mandalorian's just lights out, best series on TV.
Yeah. The only controversial thing I've heard about it is when the kid ate the eggs.
Oh.
Yeah.
There
was outrage about that, but like,
it's savage. It's savage.
It.
But you know,
like someone compared them to chicken eggs. Like someone who was involved in that episode compared them to chicken eggs because they were unfertilized eggs.
Oh.
So.
Well, and you know that the Yoda species. I can't remember what they're called, but you know they like officially. You know, raw flesh, right? I mean, you saw Yoda eating stuff, and you know. So it's I think it's square in the reality of that character, but it was kind of jarring and traumatic to watch him do that.
Yes.
You know what?
But look, he learned, right? And then a couple episodes later, he's with the parents, and they've taught him, you know, to appreciate what the eggs are about. So, you know.
Yeah. It's oh Lord, it's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an amazing show. I love it. But yeah, I suppose that's kind of us done. We've touched on theater acting. We've touched on basic politics. We touched on controversies, voice acting.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
You know,
love Star Wars.
all the necessities. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, do you think you want to promote your social medias? Do you have a Cameo account?
I do. My Instagram is James Yaegashi at James Yaegashi. And I think my Cameo is the same also. And yeah, I look at my Insta for more info on the new animated series that I'm doing. Once that info is made public, I will definitely be posting it. So
awesome.
Well, you know, I'm looking forward to find out. So if you want to keep up with them, you know where to find them. You know, thanks everyone for listening, watching, whatever. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell your grandma about the podcast and take it on.
All right. Thank you.